Low-hanging fruit.
I'm going to take the banana here.
There we go.
What is it, Nature's Candy Bar?
Nature's Candy Bar.
All
Two
right.
big ones right off the bat this
Ooh,
edition.
Bama needs to beat Michigan. Low-hanging fruit or truth?
Pretty accurate. Rarely does a game like that matter. This one does.
I'm a big fan of hiring the O-line coach as a head coach. I think there should be more of those. And, there's some doing pretty well right now. Yeah, it's sort of like having the drummer as your lead singer. So that's your Sam Pittman, Phil Collins comparison for the day.
So they're not going to lose one game in the bowl season.
They probably will just because it's tough. But when I look at the matchups on paper, I think you should expect, or you should. The standard should be
Baylor's gonna be tough.
I completely disagree with you. Matchup-wise, you are correct. Psychological makeup-wise, you are in outer space.
The Aggies have 5 losses against 3 number 1 teams, a number 4 team, and number 8 Auburn. That's a pretty strong statement, Paul. Do you think Gundy made a list of all the 7-5 teams that have ever played football?
I think he's right. Although, do you really want to be known as the best 7-5 team in history?
You're the best something, I guess.
He would like them to be the best 7-6 team in history.
And then it's like Harbaugh can stake his claim for being on that level.
I'm not listening to this.
Honestly, Paul, what would happen if Harbaugh and Michigan beat Nick Saban? And listen, I don't care what anybody says.
He's
it's
not
a bowl
listening.
game.
He already said he's not
Paul,
listening.
you have to listen.
Welcome back, and a lot of conversation about new coaches and a lot of excitement in Columbia, Missouri, as we welcome in Coach Eliah Drinkwitz, who grew up in Oklahoma and spent his college days in Arkansas and spent a lot of time in Arkansas. And we say hello to you, Coach. Thank you very much, and congratulations. You're a relatively young man, I believe, at 36 years old to be a head coach in the SEC, but it seems like you're ready to go.
Yes, sir. We're excited about the opportunity. It's an awesome place to be in Columbia, Missouri. I think our football program's got a chance to really take the next step. They've invested the resources in the new facilities, and they've got a growth mindset, and I'm fired up to be their head football coach. I know that.
Listen, you did an amazing job this year in Boone, North Carolina, getting your team in a position to go to a big bowl. You end up going down to New Orleans, and next thing you know, you're the head coach at the University of Missouri. Can you take us through the process? All of a sudden, you're coaching, you're trying to get you're trying to get your team a championship, and then you must get a call, and you go, "Wow, this is pretty interesting."
Well, the mind's men plan the ways, the Lord directs their steps. Our total focus last week was ring week. We knew that we were playing for a championship, and the most important thing for us was to finish the season the right way. And we won the championship. We were celebrating. I go in, check my phone, and my agent had left me a message, said that Missouri was on their way to meet with me and wanted to set up a meeting with me. My daughter was performing in the Nutcracker at 7 p.m., and so I said, well, I got to go watch the Nutcracker because I'm a father first, and then we'll figure all that stuff out. And then, as everybody understands in this business, things move incredibly fast. And so next thing you know, I'm on the Paul Finebaum show as the head coach of the SEC. It doesn't get much better than that, does it?
No. I was thinking that you probably had to think as you were watching the Nutcracker, that would be the ultimate goal.
Yeah.
Coach, it is exciting though, and we don't know much about you. I certainly living in North Carolina saw a lot of conversation about your games this year because a lot of my friends went there. But we had Coach Chiswick on yesterday, and you coached at Springdale where Gus Malzahn was. Yeah. You moved over to Auburn, and I know you had some very, very important responsibilities under Coach Chiswick at Auburn. Can you tell us about them?
Yeah, I distinctly remember one of my first jobs at Auburn was to drive up to Huntsville, Alabama, and pick up Coach Chiswick and drive him to the High School Coaches Association clinic. And I'll distinctly remember I took the wrong turn, and Coach Chiswick was in the passenger side, and Trooper Taylor was behind me. And so I cut a U-turn on the middle of the road, and Trooper Taylor still gives me crap about that. You can never cut a U-turn in the middle of the road with the head football coach of an SEC school, but that's when I knew I was going to be able to make it in this thing. You have to make tough decisions, and at that point I had to get him to where he needed to be, which was at the coaches clinic.
Yeah, listen, doesn't matter how you get there, just get the head coach there, because he was on his way or had already become the coach of the year and the national champion coach. So he couldn't be late. Coach, what did you learn from not only working down with Coach Chiswick but with Coach Malzahn?
Well, the thing I think I'll always take from Coach Chiswick is family first, and football is what we do. It's not who we are. Our first responsibilities are to be great husbands and great fathers, and I still to this day appreciate Coach Chiz and his leadership in that realm, and how he always causes me to focus on putting our family first. Coach Malzahn's been a great mentor to me, and he's provided me wisdom and guidance throughout a lot of decisions, including on this one. I called him and asked him, he's been through some of these types of things before, and you never know what it's going to be like until you're in the middle of it, and in the middle of it I needed some advice, and so I called Coach, and he's always been there for me, and I respect him greatly for that.
So you get to Mizzou. Obviously, there's a million things to do. I've covered a lot of news conferences of first year coaches. Obviously, with recruiting a week away, I would think that's paramount. But you also have to deal with the team. You have to build a staff. How do you prioritize many responsibilities?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is I got to decide what's important versus what's urgent. Not everything that's urgent is important, and not everything that's important is urgent. So that's what we're deciphering through. The most important thing for me was yesterday getting in front of my football team and putting my arms around them, and clearly portraying who I am as a person and who I am as a football coach to them. And then today it's been presenting myself to our alumni, to our fan base, to everybody that touches Mizzou football. And then, I got my phone on me right now. I've been texting, calling, recruiting. I'm going to be on a plane later tonight and getting in people's homes. And that's what we got to do. And as we're doing that, then I've got to formulate the plan for what we're going to do with our staff and how we're going to fill that in, and how we're going to continue to move Mizzou football forward, and how we're going to compete for the SEC East. And at the end of the day, that's why they hired me to do this job. It's so we can compete in the SEC East. And we all know that if you're competing in the SEC East, then that means you're competing at the national level.
It seems like an awful lot to deal with, and I realize that comes with the territory, but there's only so much time in the day, and with recruiting paramount, how much staff do you have, and exactly who can you lean on?
Well, we've got a full recruiting staff. They're still in place, and there's guys here still that are helping me recruit, and that's what I'm leaning on for them to do right now. And then I got to do the heavy lifting. I mean, they don't pay us this kind of money for us to delegate it to other people. That's our jobs. So I'm out there in recruiting, and that's what I'm supposed to do, and that's what I'm going to get done. And coffee's my best friend right now.
Be careful. Coach, you mentioned money, and that's not a subject that we often talk about, but it's well reported what you were making at Appalachian State, which, by the way, is a good salary. I mean,
no
most
doubt.
of us would be proud to be making that, but all of a sudden your salary quadruples.
Mm-hmm. I tell you what, my wife and my daughters are fired up about it. I'll never forget Coach Malzahn was making a lot of money at Auburn, and I was a GA, and he would give me his credit card, and I'd go buy lunch and dinner or whatever for everybody. And he said, "Eli, I don't know how much money I have in my bank account anyway." And that's really how I am too. I got no idea. But my wife does, and she calculates all that for us. And, this was an opportunity of a lifetime, regardless of the finances. I'm a football coach. I was a 7th grade football coach in 2005. I'm going to coach football regardless. Now they just happen to pay me way too much money to do it. But I'm excited about the opportunity, and we're going to get it done. I know that.
By the way, how was the presentation of the Nutcracker Sunday afternoon?
Oh, my daughter is a star. I don't know if anybody's been to the Nutcracker before, but there's a lot of dances, and she was on. It's about a 2.5-hour performance, and she was on stage for about 3.5 minutes. So it's similar to SEC football games with TV timeouts and all that kind of stuff. The actual game time's not nearly as what it should be, probably.
Well, Coach, the first time I saw you, I had you for a Tchaikovsky fan, so I knew that you would be able to converse in classical music, and certainly one of the great Christmas presentations, ballets of all time. Listen, I know you got a lot to do, and we really appreciate you making time. When things calm down, we'd love to visit and find out who's on your staff and the direction of your program. But right now, I'm sure you've got way too much bulging through your skull to be able to delineate too much of that.
Well, I appreciate it, and I look forward to getting back on here with you, Paul, and spreading the news about what we're going to be and who we're going to be at Mizzou. And I appreciate you.
Thank you very much, Coach. Wow, what a great conversation. First conversation with Eliah Drinkwitz, the new coach at the University of Missouri. Very cool first impression there. We will take a break. More of your phone calls. And let's get to the calls at 855-242-7285. Rocky is in New Jersey, and Rocky, go right ahead.
Oh, it's a great thrill to talk to you, Paul.
Thank you.
Something a little bit on the periphery of football for a second, Paul. It wasn't too long ago that I was tuned in, and Laura Rutledge was just coming back from her maternity and had the little baby girl, I believe it was,
Yes.
with you. And I thought, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe she said that say hello to your goddaughter. And if that is so, I want to say this, Paul. That's a girl like Laura Rutledge, who's a beautiful girl on the outside, and it appears to me just as beautiful on the inside, would entrust you with being the godparent of her child, says more to me and to all your fans than anything else. And I think it's a great tribute to you as a man that a girl like Laura Rutledge would entrust her little girl to you. And I think everybody in Finebaum world should know that. And I'm just so glad I got a chance to give you a shout out, which you are deserving, and always thought the world of you, and now I'm convinced that a lot of other people do as well. Keep up the good work, Paul.
Rocky, thank you very much. Yeah, I happen to be up in New York today, and Laura is also, in addition to everything else she does, is co-hosting the Get Up show. So we were able to work together today and tomorrow, and she's doing great. Thank you for the kind words. I think everyone in this audience knows how all of us, especially me, feel about Laura, and it's been just an incredibly wonderful thing to see and to watch her become a mother. Thanks for the call. Andre is in Atlanta. Hello, Andre.
Coach, hey, man, that was a great interview, Coach, with your new coach of Missouri, and
Thank you.
good luck to him. But listen, Coach, you're a straight shooter, and I'm an LSU fan. I know it. You know it. I don't hide it. But one thing about the SEC, and a lot of fans around the nation don't understand, in order to climb to the top of this ladder called the SEC Conference, you have to have a top 10 recruiting class 4 or 5 years in a row. If you don't have it, you can't get to the top of the conference. Now, in the East, if Georgia's at the top, Florida's climbing, and Tennessee is on the rise, where is it for Missouri to go, Coach?
You don't know. Missouri is one of those interesting schools, Andre, that the expectations are not as suffocating as other schools like Alabama, Florida, Georgia. So
Right.
I mean, they can have a successful season with 8 or 9 wins, and I think that's why Coach Drinkwitz has an easier path than some people.
Well, they caught the SEC when Florida and Georgia and Tennessee was down, but now that those teams are rising, I just, and the same thing with Arkansas on the west side of the conference. I mean, they may be able to climb to the middle of the West, but come on, Coach, I can't see them getting to the top of the West. Can you?
Who, Arkansas or Missouri?
Yeah, Arkansas. Can you see them climbing to the top of the West? I can't.
No, I can't either. Not at all.
Look, and I don't have a dog in the fight, but what is Georgia going to do to change their offense around, Coach? I know that Coach Smart is getting some heat from the Bulldog Nation over here in Georgia, and I'm pretty sure Jake Fromm is feeling it too. But what are they going to do to change this offense around and come into the 2019, Coach? What do you think?
Well, I mean, I don't think it's going to take a dynamic quarterback. When you think about Justin Fields leaving, obviously, Fromm, held on to that job. You also had Trevor Lawrence leave the state. You've got to do something different because I don't think this. I'm not saying Georgia is a disaster. I mean, they've had a really great program. They finished 5th 2 years in a row, but it still feels like they're underperforming.
Well, I don't even know how they let Deshaun Watson get away from here because he's from
good point.
Gainesville. Trevor Lawrence is from Cartersville, which is about 25 miles, 30 miles north of Atlanta. And then Justin Fields is from Kennesaw. That's about 20 minutes north of Atlanta. So, they got a lot of talent that's leaving the state. And even Cam Newton, he's from over here on the southwest side of Atlanta, and he ended up at Florida and then Auburn. So they let a lot of good talent get out of here. But I just, the young man sounded so motivated with Missouri, but I guess he doesn't have that pressure on him that these other coaches do. And, Coach, a lot of coaches that have been offered jobs in the SEC, and they wouldn't take them because of who they have to recruit against and the recruiting tactics down here. But thanks for taking my call.
Yeah,
Coach
thank you.
Finebaum.
Listen, you can't let that be you. Missouri, I think, went around in circles for a while before landing on Coach Drinkwitz. It's been well reported that Jim Sterkel recommended some names, and the board of curators did not like them. Arkansas went through a laborious process before ending up with Pittman. A lot of debate about both choices, although it seems like Drinkwitz is going over a little bit better in the eyes of the public than Sam Pittman. Glad to have you on. Thank you very, very much. Let's continue with Eastwood. Eastwood, go right ahead.
Hey, Paul.
Hey there.
I got a question. What do you think about this Michigan-Alabama bowl game, and who do you think it means more to? I know it means nothing to Alabama because they're used to playing for championships, but I think it's a big game for them.
Well, it's a big game because it is Michigan and Jim Harbaugh, but clearly the game means more to Michigan. They ended their season badly. They underperformed. Alabama did too, but the standard at Alabama is a little more excellence than it is at Michigan. So, Jim Harbaugh just needs to beat somebody important, and right now he's got the win over Brian Kelly this year, but a win over Nick Saban would really fade the heat for him. Squirrel is up next. Hey, Squirrel.
Man, how you doing today, Paul?
We're doing great.
I really appreciate you taking my call. And
thank you.
First, let me get some business out of the way first. I owe you an apology for my call last week. I was a little testy. I didn't appreciate you mocking Alabama's 12th ranking, and again, it was just one of them days. But I hope you'll accept my apology for being a little disrespectful.
All good.
Good deal. I knew it was. I'm just going to make it official. It's been kind of a rough week, man. Twitter banned me yesterday for 12 hours. I got the LSU fan base after me, but what was worse is I was called a disgruntled Finebaum lapdog on your show yesterday. Lapdog, that stung. Of all the things, I've had death threats on your show, but lapdog probably stung more than anything. Now I heard you say something about the Saban vote. What poll did he vote in? I didn't catch all of that.
That's the USA Today coaches poll.
And he voted his team 5th?
Yes.
Where should he have voted in himself, Paul?
Listen, I don't. I think Nick Saban can vote his team anywhere he wants. I like the fact that he put Alabama ahead of Georgia and Auburn. I thought that was pretty funny.
Well, he thinks Alabama is better than Georgia and Auburn, and not to say that he didn't lose the Auburn game, but again, if I was Saban, I would have put my team 5th. I might have put my team 4th if I was Saban. I don't know if you're just basing on best team, which is what the playoff committee is supposed to be about, the best team. So I don't know. I just didn't see anything wrong with Saban voting 5th, and I just thought it was unusual that you made a comment on it. And another thing, for the next year, are you going to entertain these LSU fans with telling them, yes, that they're the IT program and they're the new destination program? Paul, they ain't even won a playoff game yet, and you're already crowning them the new great team of college football. I mean, that's kind of hard to understand.
I mean, listen, Squirrel, I don't know why you're being so persnickety about this.
I'm not persnickety, man. I'm not persnickety. I mean,
It seems like as an Alabama fan, you are just not used to being in this position.
No. Let's don't go that route because again.
You're poking fun at LSU. I mean,
fan.
what's wrong with LSU being successful this year and enjoying the moment?
LSU is great this year. They've got a great team this year. But you know what? I didn't see no Heisman Trophy quarterback on the second team squad. I don't see them repeating this next year, much less for the next decade. So again, I'm just not willing to crown them, the greatest thing since sliced bread until they win a damn playoff game. That's just my thoughts. If you want to worship them and put a crown on their head and think they're the
Squirrel, I'm not worshiping them at all. I'm giving them credit for what they've done.
I'm giving them credit, but they haven't done anything yet, Paul. So
yeah, they have. Squirrel, you're sounding like a typical Alabama fan.
No, here we go again. Thank you for taking my call. Aloha.
Yeah. Listen, I'm not looking to cause trouble with Alabama fans, but I mean, you have to give out LSU its due. And by the way, speaking of LSU, some interesting news just coming out from Ross Dellinger, who of course has been with us many times. He says that Dave Aranda, who has been mentioned to Colorado State, so has Butch Jones, by the way, is also in the mix at UNLV. So it's possible that the highest paid assistant coach in the country and perhaps one of the most important coaches to the success of LSU could be leaving if he gets one of those two jobs. It's a story to keep your eyes on. Let's check in with Johnny in West Virginia. Hey, Johnny.
Hey, Paul.
Hey there.
How you doing today?
All good. Thank you very much.
Hey, I just wanted to know what you I'm a big West Virginia Mountaineer fan, and I just wanted to know what you think of Coach Brown. It's here with the Mountaineers that came from Troy. Just wanted to know what you thought about him.
I have been a fan of Neil Brown since he was a graduate assistant at Kentucky. I have friends who have worked with him who told me 10, 12 years ago he would be a big-time head coach, and I think he is well on his way. I think he's a great coach. Impressive resume, and I think he's done a really nice job.
Well, he seems like a real class act, and he seems like a nice man, a nice family man, and we really like him a lot.
Well, you should, because he's the real thing. Hey, thank you for the call. We're heading to a break. More to come. We've already had Coach Drinkwitz on from Mizzou. More of your phone calls when we come back. So Squirrel called in to apologize for something he did the other day, guys. He ended up making it worse.
Does he need to apologize again? I mean, did anybody say that LSU's the new IT program of like moving forward? Are they not just enjoying success that LSU has?
You could just hear the bitterness coming through his veins.
It was seeping through the phone call.
Yeah.
Let it go. I'm a Georgia fan. They just beat us badly. And congratulations to LSU. I'm still happy for them.
Yeah, no, right? I mean, like, be happy that LSU, I mean, look, Alabama came back.
They did.
And that was impressive, but that was like a 20-point game.
You got out of hand in the first half, just almost like the way the Georgia game did.
Yeah.
And, Tua just fought back, unlike Georgia. But, Paul, are we going to hear this a lot more this coming summer, after how LSU beat Bama? The game next year is in Baton Rouge. Are we going to start hearing Bama fans be a little bit more resentful of LSU as the summer goes on going into next season?
Yeah, I don't know, Jabari. First of all, it's not even over yet this year. I don't know why Alabama fans are already quibbling. Do you?
I thought, now, listen, I could be wrong, but I thought this whole SEC, like you root for each other. I mean, you said you want to.
Right?
We want LSU to win.
I don't have a dog in the fight, but LSU makes our lives better, right? At least on this show.
Yeah, it'd be great if they won. I think it'd be great. It'd be great for the conference. I mean, Alabama, you'd think just because you want to lose to the eventual champion.
I think Squirrel just let it go, man. It's okay.
I don't know. I mean, Paul, we've been waiting to hear from some Bama fans, and all we've heard a lot about is the history they've had in this past decade. Well, guess what? The decade's over. I haven't heard a lot talking forward. Looking ahead, hey, don't worry, next year we play USC, we play Georgia, we play A&M and LSU, Auburn.
It gets worse because, when Burrow
Tennessee's going to be
when
better.
Burrow wins the Heisman on Saturday, it's only going to get worse.
Heisman winner? Oh, what do we tell the Alabama fans here?
Well, I think they'll be fine. There's just a few outliers like Squirrel who are buried with their head in the sand.
Like a squirrel, maybe.
Does a squirrel maybe he's downgraded from squirrel to like ostrich.
That's what it is.
So when he calls in, he'll be ostrich from now on.
They get an ostrich picture.
Mary is up next in Birmingham. Hey, Mary.
Hey, Paul. Well, I did want to be a good Alabama fan and root for Jalen Hurts because I am so excited that he is going to New York. And I know that Joe Burrow has supposedly locked it in, but I just really am proud of Jalen. And he's done so much for Alabama, and we are very proud of him, and I'm excited for him to be up there. And as far as Alabama is concerned, no, I don't think we're the 13th ranking in all that, but we do have pride at stake, and I do believe that we will win against Michigan. So that's what I wanted to say. What do you think?
Thank you very, very much. Really great to hear from you. And I think we're all proud of Jalen. He won't win, but he'll have a memory for the rest of his life that he was a Heisman finalist, and that's pretty cool. Stanley is up next in Kentucky. Hello, Stanley.
Hello, Paul. How are you today?
I'm well, thank you.
Listen, I just want to say happy holidays to you and yours.
Thank you.
I won't be able to contact you the rest of the month. I'll be tied up with work and family. So wishing you the merriest of Christmas and New Year's. I wanted to comment on Squirrel. That was one hell of an apology.
Yeah. I mean, when you call to apologize and you make it worse, that's not smart.
Yeah, it sounded like he was really butthurt. But anyway, I'm a diehard Alabama fan, crimson to the bone. Tied till I die. But LSU has walked the dog this year. They deserve every kudo, every credit, every pat on the back that they can get. They have rose up above everybody. And so right now I'm saying, go Tigers.
Thank you, Stanley. Thanks for the kind words, and I hope you have a Merry Christmas as well. I realize we're now making that turn toward the middle of December. We'll lose a few people. We're here this week and next, and Christmas week we'll miss a day or two at the front end, and then reconvene in Atlanta right after Christmas. So we won't be taking much time off for the holidays because the bowl games, the semifinal games are just around the corner. Mike in Macon is up next. Hey, Mike.
Hey, Paul. Thank you for taking my call. I didn't know that calling somebody a lapdog was worse than a death threat. I would never use a death threat or insult somebody's family or anything like that. But, me and my Gator buddies, they insult me as a Georgia fan all the time. They talk more smack in their sleep that's stronger than lapdogs. If you can't handle that, then, your skin is just not thick enough to take it. And the bottom line is, as long as Alabama was on top and he could agree with you focusing on them because they were the dominant team, everything was just, cool and nice and real sweet and agreeable. But now that it's the other way around and LSU is on top and Alabama is no longer a dynasty, it's just hard to take. So anyway, I feel sorry for the guy because I know he's hurting. I'm hurting after getting beat up by LSU so bad. But come on, man, take it like a man. Thank you, Paul.
Thank you very much, Mike. Great to have you on, and let's continue. David is up next. Hey, David.
Hey, Paul.
Hi there.
I just wanted to call and say, I said you wanted to talk to some Bama fans today. I guess that's about 3 or 4 in the last few calls there, but I disagree with what Squirrel said. I don't understand why he's not giving LSU their due. They've done what they had to do, and I think I'm a Bama fan, but I'm going to be pulling for the Tigers. Why wouldn't you?
Yeah, I really
SEC makes sense to me.
Yeah, listen, David, my job here isn't to preach or lecture, but What is there not to like about the LSU Tigers?
I agree with you totally there. I mean, they've taken care of everybody they had to. I mean, they beat Bama, they beat Auburn, they beat everybody.
Yeah, I mean,
So,
listen.
we could want them to bring the national championship back home to us and start our reign of terror again.
Yeah, no, I agree. But listen, if you're an Alabama fan, it's not like you had anything taken away from you or stolen from you. I mean, you got beat twice. Get over it.
No, I agree. I mean, I don't know. My wife thinks I might be a little crazy because I'm not just crying because Alabama didn't win everything this year. You're not going to win it every year, but you can still pull from teams in your conference. And we're
I'm glad to hear that because I think that's one thing that makes the SEC so unique. And I understand the Auburn-Alabama deal. Come on. I mean, when Auburn played for the national championship, Alabama fans didn't want them to win. And that's a different situation. But Alabama and LSU are on similar levels, and they ought to pull for each other.
Well,
glad to hear from you. Thanks very much. I do appreciate it. Let's go to Philip next up in Georgia. Hey, Philip, you're on the air.
Hey, Paul, how you doing?
Well, great. Thank you.
Appreciate you taking my call. Watch the show almost every day.
Well, thank you.
I was sitting here yesterday watching your show and jotting down some names of just trying to get us over the hump. I'm a big Dog fan, and I jotted down about 4 names here I think would get us over the hump. Probably never happened, but I just thought I'd run it by you and see what you think. Running back coach, Herschel Walker. Wide receiver coach, Hines Ward. Matt and Luke, offensive line, that's already happened. And a defensive guy that we all love, he's on your network, to round out the offensive coordinating job, Gene Chisholm. What do you think?
Well, I'll tell you what, Chisholm would make a really good coach. Herschel's not going to be a coach, and you know, I think Kirby knows what he's doing. He just has to take a good long look, and I think this bowl game is really important for Kirby because should he lose the Sugar Bowl again, I think it sends this program spiraling a little bit out of control into the offseason. Great to have you on. Joey is in Iowa. Hello, Joey.
Hey, Paul. What's up?
We're doing great. Thank you. We're doing well.
I got 2 questions for you. One, what do you think about Notre Dame's bowl game? Like, do you think it's like really important to them to win?
I don't know how it could be, frankly, when you're playing Iowa State in the Camping World game in Orlando. I mean, it's not even the biggest game in Orlando.
Right. Then
I think it's a pretty terrible bowl game myself.
Definitely. And how do you feel about Virginia getting a better bowl game than Notre Dame when Notre Dame beat Virginia?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, Notre Dame may have gotten job there, may not have. I think Notre Dame would that have been the Orange Bowl?
Citrus Bowl.
The Citrus.
Or
no,
Orange
it's the Orange Bowl. I mean, I would have rather seen Florida and Notre Dame than Florida and Virginia. Is that the game, Florida and Virginia? Yeah.
I'm pretty sure, and I think Florida and Notre Dame will be better because they're 2 top teams.
Listen. As a college football fan, I'm not really excited to see a team that lost by 50 to its rival in the ACC game. But I for the life of me, I don't know how these bowl games are put together. It's very political. It's very conference oriented. The ACC does its deal. The SEC does its. Hey, thanks for the call. We're heading to a break. More of your phone calls and more guests. We've already had Coach Drinkwitz on from Missouri. We'll talk about the HBO special with Belichick and Saban. We'll take a deeper dive into Auburn hiring Chad Morris, and your calls after this.
Let's welcome in the human opinion, Paul Finebaum. So, Paul, let's not kid ourselves or gin up fake tension for Saturday night. Chase and Justin and Jalen probably don't need to work on acceptance speeches. So what drama is there, if any, for Joe Burrow's coronation?
Well, we want the largest possible audience, David, so I'm going to just bloviate here for about 10 minutes. Truthfully, the only thing in question is whether this is the biggest landslide in Heisman history. Troy Smith, I think, had 92 or 91 or 2% of the vote.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. I think Joe Burrow will obliterate that. When I voted on Sunday afternoon, I really didn't think about it for 2 seconds. And sometimes you do vacillate. The real question was who would be number 2, and I think Justin Fields will likely come in there, and Jalen Hurts remarkably is going to New York, the former backup starter turned backup quarterback at Alabama.
Burrow, of course, would be the first LSU Tiger to win it since Billy Cannon 60 years ago. All right, your old friend Lane Kiffin officially announced as the head coach of Ole Miss yesterday. Of course, he was in the SEC at Tennessee, your alma mater, for one short, stormy year. Yeah. That was a decade ago. Here's what he had to say about why he is returning to the conference.
Let's go back to the highest level now that we're really prepared for this better and haven't been the places that we've been, going through those obstacles. And that's so, we're in a much better position to win and to do everything right from top to bottom and not make some of those mistakes that we made 10 years ago at Tennessee.
All right, Lane certainly is battle-tested. The Rebels, though, won just 4 games last season, so there's work to do. What level of success can you see him having in Oxford?
I think he has a really good chance, primarily for this reason. He has a great quarterback in John Rice Plumlee. He's been outstanding, and I just couldn't get over the fact, David, that this is Lane Kiffin's 5th head coaching job. Remember, he coached at the Raiders, and he's had 4 college coaching positions. He's only 44 years old, so like his first job must have been at 16 or something. But he keeps getting these jobs. And one thing that he does, he creates buzz. The people in the media love him. He talks to media members. He texts them. He tweets. He is a dream for people like me. Welcome back as we continue. It's been a really good show, and let's grab some more calls. Nader is in Louisiana. Hello, Nader.
Hey, Paul. How are you?
Oh, well, thank you.
Great. Paul, I just wanted to, take the time and appreciate the LSU season. And, it's been a magical run for us, and we've all enjoyed it. But I grew up in Houston, Texas, and I got to tell you, Paul, some of the finest tears I ever tasted in my life were the tears of the Texas Longhorns. And, that was great. Great way to start the season. And we rolled on. We went through Florida. Great experience in Tiger Stadium. Went on, took care of Auburn. But I got to tell you, Paul, I didn't think anything would top Texas until I finally tasted Bama tears. And I had a big, big gulp with that special ice from Sonic's filled with Bama tears. And they were glorious. I can't remember tasting something so sweet. And then, Paul, after the SEC championship, I just felt like I ran out, and that made me sad. But I just heard Squirrel on your show, and I got to tell you, Paul, that man just filled up my cup. I'm talking the big gulp, super duper cup, and I just want to thank him.
Thank you very much. Aiden is in Austin. You are on the air. Good afternoon.
Hey, Paul. I just wanted to get your take on Kellen Mond and, where Texas A&M is looking forward to now, now that Kellen Mond's going to his senior season. Do you think Jimbo Fisher will win a national title with A&M at some point, or are they, just a, medium, not so good, pretty good team, losing against Georgia to a close game and a blowout versus LSU?
Yeah, listen, I still am pretty bullish on Jimbo Fisher, but I think next year is critical. He has a much more palatable schedule. Doesn't have to deal with Clemson. Doesn't have to take on a road game at Georgia. I mean, you can't find many more difficult games than that, with assuming and including you still have Alabama, LSU, and Auburn on the schedule. But he's got 4 very winnable non-conference games. I think he needs to get to double digits this year to prove that he is worthy and has credibility. I think Kellen Mond is a really good quarterback, though, so I think he's got a chance. Thank you very much for the call. Wade is up next. How are you, Wade?
I'm doing well, Paul. How are you? I was calling in about the Bama LSU conversation, and Squirrel, he should have given LSU their props. They're a great football team this year, and they look like the best in the land. But for the next caller to call in and say that we should be pulling for LSU, and you agreed with it as well. As an Alabama fan, we're in direct competition with them through recruits. As a matter of fact, their football players went to our recruits in the stands trying to recruit them to LSU. So do I respect LSU? Yes, I do. Am I pulling for them? Absolutely not. I hope they get beat 100-0.
Listen, Wade, first of all, it doesn't make any difference who you pull for. It's not going to change the outcome. It's not going to change anyone's life. So you're welcome to do whatever you want. I get it. I deal with fans every day, and I've never completely bought into the kumbaya. I'm pulling for LSU because I admire Coach O, and I respect very much what they've done. But then again, contrary to popular belief, I'm really not a fan.
Well, I respect them, too. I give them their respect. I did at the beginning of this statement. But being in direct competition for recruits.
Wait, let me ask you a serious question here. Whether you're in direct competition or not, how does your pulling for them or pulling against them really change anything?
It doesn't.
Okay.
It's just part of the conversation.
One thing I do admire about you, Wade, you're honest. You don't have to sugarcoat it. Listen, cheer for anybody you want. Fine with me. Buddy is up next. Hey, Buddy.
Being in direct competition for recruits. Let me ask you a serious question here.
Okay, listen, you got it. When we go to you have to pick it up. Ethan is up next in Mississippi. Ethan.
Hey, Paul, how are you?
I'm well, thank you.
Yeah, I just a quick question I wanted to run by and see what your thoughts were. But what would you think about getting rid of the college playoff committee and just going back to the BCS ranking system and choosing the top four based on that for the playoff teams?
Listen, whether it's a good idea or not, it's not plausible. So it won't happen. Most people do not go backwards, and once you sign off on a 12-year deal with the college football playoff, there's no turning back. The only change that I see down the road is expanding it, not going backwards. Hey, thanks for the call. We have 2 hours to go. We hope you'll stick around.